What does flow mean to you? Flow is a state of mind, a state in which a person becomes fully immersed in an effortless and continuous progression. To me, the ultimate goal in jiu-jitsu is finding that perfect roll with perfect and effortless flow. I'm Professor Hayden Martz, and this is the Flow BJJ podcast. Hello and welcome to the Flow BJJ podcast. Today we are going to be talking about competition. It's going to be a little bit of an informal episode. So we have Aidan and I today. We're going to talk about expectations of a competitor. Basically the top 5 or 6 things that we've each written down without speaking to each other about what we think a competitor needs to do or what their coach likely expects of them. And then we are smack dab in the middle of the East Coast ADCC Trials, and we have been watching a significant amount of the matches. Right now we're through the semifinal round, which has been amazing. The finals are lined up, and there's going to be some awesome finals. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
Probably Colabate in the finals and Giancarlo in the finals. They've been slaying.
Yeah, so let's start right at the bottom with the under 66. It's Colabate versus Keith Krikorian. What have you watched so far for matches from either of those guys?
Mostly I've just seen Cole absolutely slay everyone. I'm pretty sure he's subbed everyone so far, except for his latest match before Keith. But he has incredible back attacks, and every time he favors close guard a lot. So he's able to play between taking their back from close guard and then posturing out and him entering legs. So he's been playing between legs and back takes a lot, and he's been super successful with it.
And just for a frame of reference too, Cole is what, 16?
16.
Colabate, 16-year-old blue belt, and he is destroying everyone. 5 wins so far. I'm looking at it here. The first 3 matches by submission over Miles Williams. He was ahead 9-0 and then got the sub. Sean Weisenberg, same thing, submission. The score was 0-0 at that point, so probably pretty early in the match. Kelly Quinn, and then things got significantly more difficult. Not for him, but the competition was much higher. John Calistine from Team Henzo Gracie,
who before beating him was on a 3-0 submission streak for himself.
Yeah. And then a fighter that you and I are both a huge fan of, Esteban Martinez versus Colabate. Esteban is a literal ball of fire.
Yeah. He will, up until the very end, cartwheel pass over anyone. Doesn't matter what situation he's in. He can get out of pretty much everything because of he has very small limbs, and he is incredibly strong for his size. And people put him in armbar danger, leg lock danger, triangle danger, but he's able to power out. He's able to explode out, and he's able to out of every submission escape, he always ends up taking their back somehow. He is so good.
Yeah, and he's, at the most 5 feet tall. Yeah, probably.
That's being considerate.
Yeah, probably less than that.
He makes some of the shortest jiu-jitsu fighters look like monsters.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hence the nickname the Giant Slayer, too. 127 pounds according to his BJJ Heroes file, which is crazy. Fighting in the under 66.
He wasn't necessarily subbing everyone, but he was like tech falling essentially all of the top dogs in this under 66 kilogram division. Yeah. It was spectacular.
I'm just going to pull it up. Who did he fight that was just before Krikorian? He fought...
Frank Rosenthal.
Yeah, Frank Rosenthal. He's a monster too. And
Frank has some of the best back attacks in the world, and Esteban was consistently getting out of it and just spinning around and taking Frank's back.
Yeah.
He scored up 9 points to Frank's 0.
Yep.
Frank was never able to solidify a position.
And we were watching that together. That he was ahead 3-0 with probably under 30 seconds left. He could have easily, and he was in Frank's guard. He could have easily just hung
Held
out
out.
in guard
Yeah.
and won the match. Instead, he tries 3 cartwheel passes in the last 30 seconds. While he's ahead 3-0, he could have just went on cruise control. And no, he just kept out.
No, he goes until the very end, win or lose.
Yep.
He's an absolute warrior.
Crazy. So Cole Abate against Keith Krikorian. Let me look at Keith's road here, because he had some tough matches too.
I think he's been winning by points.
Yeah, and his last match. So let's start at the bottom here. He won a match against Samuel Adams Davis, Andrew Franco, Jacob Norton, Wilson Soho from Easton.
Any by sub?
He, let's see, sub, ref's decision, sub, score, 3-0. And then went up against Ben Eddy from 10th Planet and won 2-0. And then the match that we were just watching, which was insane, was Keith against Gianni Grippo. And Keith, he won the decision, the ref's decision.
No, he choked him out.
That's right. No, that's right. He subbed him in overtime.
Yeah.
But earlier on in the match, he had a heel hook locked on it, and
He
they
had
rolled.
so many full bites on the heel.
Yeah. And Gianni's heel hook defense clearly is amazing.
It's like
he
his
hung
best.
out there for.
It's like his most favorite passing position for some reason,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But
one of the times, because Tom DeBlas was reffing that match, by the way, and with that fully locked on heel hook, ADCC rules are a little different than some of the other tournaments. If you're in a locked on submission and you roll out of bounds, you can pretty much roll as far as there's floor. Like if there's space to keep rolling, you can keep rolling. And they rolled.
They went like 6 to 10 feet outside of the mats,
Yes.
rolling into people.
Yeah,
with a
Sam
heel
was
hook.
there. Sam McHale was there, so spectating. Had to move out of the way. Then Sam and Tom moved the gate out of the way so that they could keep rolling. Finally had to stop them and reset them, but that was quite the match.
Gianni is so comfortable in these fully locked in leg entanglements.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So yeah, your final in for the trials at under 66, Cole Abate against Keith Krikorian. That should be amazing. Just as amazing, under 77. Talk about two people with fireworks. Cade Ruotolo versus William Tackett. We just watched. Let's talk about Tackett first. We just watched Tackett go against his own teammate, which that in itself is rough. He fought Cody Steele in the semifinals. That was a 0-0 overtime ref's decision, which is pretty typical for two teammates. So they essentially closed out that side of the bracket. But Tackett with wins over Hansu White, Diallo Braithwaite, Kirk Brenneman, JZ Calvacante. That's a big win right there. I'm from Fight Sports. And Pierre-Oliver Leclerc from TriStar. So leading up to Cody Steele, that's a list right there for sure. Tackett versus Cade. Who you got for that?
I think William plays a very strong tactical game, but I think Cade does tactics better, and I think Cade does. William and Cade have very similar submission games. Like they like front headlock, they like anacondas, darces, all that. But I think Cade's just better suited for those. I think he just gets those done better.
Yep.
I don't think William really has the the strong ability to finish these.
I feel like both Ruotolo brothers are sort of on another level from some of these guys. Nothing against Tackett. Tackett's amazing, and I actually really like him as a competitor. But Cade, man, he's been subbing some amazing competitors lately.
They can pull things out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they want it so much more than others.
I feel like, too, that, like you said, they play the same game, but Cade plays it better. Maybe, you never know. That's the thing in jiu-jitsu. I mean, especially with these guys going after the legs, anything could happen. But I think I agree with you. I think I'm with Cade on that one.
I think William beats him on the stand-up, but anywhere
Cade's
on the
got a
ground.
nice Uchimata, though, too.
Yeah, he does.
That's tough to call. But, yeah, I got to go with...
I'll go with Cade.
With Cade on that one. Under 88, we have Cruz against Bodoni. Let's look at Elder Cruz on the way up here. Elder Cruz, Pablo Montes, Godo, Vancura, Sean Yardimarco, Jason Salter on his way to the final. That's not an easy road.
No.
Let's talk about before we talk about the matchup. Elder Cruz against Sean Yardimarco. Sean is under Tom, and he put on quite the showing for what I believe is his first ADCCs. I could be wrong, but he had wins against Tim Welch, Caleb Yonkers, Elliot Alisea, David Garmo. That's a big win too, and then lost a close one to Elder Cruz 3-0. But definitely a good showing. You pick up 4 wins, and not bad for your first time through.
Yeah, Sean's incredibly well balanced. He's good from everywhere.
Yep.
He played a pretty good tactical game this whole trials, but Elder Cruz is he's built for these types of events. He has an incredibly strong pressure passing game, amazing front headlocks. He's really hard to deal with.
Yep. Let's look at Giancarlo Bodoni. He had a pretty tough route to get here. So, first match, Logan Yox, it looks like, from Atos. Maxim Code, Malik Ferrante, and then things start to get super, super tough. James Brasco, Ryan Aitken, and Jacob Couch. That's
a killer's row.
That's a tough road right there. Ryan Aitken, first of all, looks like a monster.
Yeah.
I watched probably three of his matches, and he looks tough.
And he just recently won Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he just won. I believe he won on the Boss Grappling Invitational number 2 as well, because they're from that Georgia, South Carolina area.
Okay.
But yeah, he looks like a tough dude for sure. And even though he lost to Giancarlo, he was in on a leg right at the end too.
He was in on his legs the whole time.
Yep.
Giancarlo was able to solidify dominant position at the very end, though, which gave him the loss in the end. But the whole entire match, Ryan was in on his legs, and Ryan has some of the best outside heel hooks I've ever seen.
Giancarlo's next match was against Jacob Couch. That was the semifinal match. So just to recap Couch a little bit, because I know he's quite the fan favorite. He, although not making it to the finals, he put on a pretty good show.
Fairly certain that he subbed everyone.
Not everyone, but just about. Let's see. First match was against Corbin Crisp from Brothers Jiu-Jitsu. That was a sub. Second match, Donald Marcellin from TriStar. Another sub. No, that was score. Ref's decision. Micah Brakefield from 10th Planet. That was a sub. Achilles Roja. I didn't know anybody could have such a cool name in jiu-jitsu. That's amazing. That was a sub. Joseph Watson, and then Giancarlo. So he did well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. Couch, it looks like he's going to face John Salter in the third place match. So
Good for
that should
him.
be a good
I
one.
think he takes that.
Yeah, I think he's
His leg locks are just too damn good. And
very capable of that.
And he's so good at getting in there from everywhere. He'll take it from top and he'll take it from bottom.
I have to say, looking at the final here, Elder Cruz against Giancarlo, I'm leaning towards Giancarlo, to be honest, based on the way his last two matches looked. But Elder Cruz is super tough, too.
Giancarlo has an all-around incredibly good game. His leg attacks aren't that great, but Elder Cruz isn't a leg locker, so I think
and when
Giancarlo
we say
takes
not that great, that's saying, in comparison. Like, they're excellent, but when we're talking about ADCC level, there's
top 10
levels.
In the world.
Right.
Yeah. But he is currently being coached by Gordon Ryan, so as long as he relies on tactics and is able to play his solid game, he is a really, really good guard, an amazing close guard.
Yep, I agree. Good
half guard passing. And he's now started to dabble into body lock passing, which we'll see how that goes.
All right, so let's look at under 99, Devontae Johnson versus Mason Fowler.
Bones Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, Unity/Bones. There's some good matchups along the way here. I have seen Mason Fowler fight a bunch of times. I don't recall seeing Johnson fight, so I don't know a ton about this one, just to be completely honest. But Fowler looks tough, man. He's a tough competitor. A couple of his matches along the way looked really, really good.
At this point, Mason has faced like pretty much everyone he could ever want to face in his weight class. So I think he has more reps in, and this is like a big step up for Bones.
Yep.
He's more of a gi player, I believe. So we'll see how this goes. I'm pretty sure Bones has been on a killing streak though this trials. So
by the looks of it, yeah, the whole way through he has been killing it. So let's look at the over 99 kilogram where Gordon did not fight, by the way.
Tom said he would.
Tom has a way of playing everyone.
He loves it.
For those of you that don't know, yesterday morning, the first, just before the first day of the trials, Tom posted a picture of him and Gordon at the trials and said, surprise, Gordon's going to be fighting in the plus 99 today, which wasn't true. That was also picked up by a jiu-jitsu website, too.
Really?
Because I read it.
Ooh.
I assumed that it was a joke when I saw it. And then it was picked up by maybe like Jiu-Jitsu Times or something like that. And I'm like, wait, wow, this is real. No, it was not real.
No, Gordon was just there coaching his teammates.
Yeah. So plus 99, we have Damon Ramos against John Hansen. So Damon Ramos is a Renzo Gracie Reno fighter, and John Hansen is from Axios. Are you familiar with either of those guys?
I truly don't know either of them, but I know that last match, that dude from Axios got a rear naked from while the guy was standing.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool.
We did see that. That looks like it's
so I guess he has good back attacks. It's good to know.
Yep. I don't know enough about these two guys to give an actual opinion, but I will say these plus 99 guys are absolute monsters.
And they go out to sub each other too.
Yeah, they're getting after it for sure. So Damon Ramos, just as an honorable mention, he beat Alex Grandy from 10th Planet in the semifinals, but in the quarterfinals he beat the one and only Patrick Downey.
Oh, God bless him.
Yeah, it looks like Downey did pick up a couple wins, which, I mean, he just is obviously not a ton of jiu-jitsu thus far, but
he played a really good tactical game. He was able to get side control and mount, and he's so good at keeping those positions.
Yeah, I mean, world-class wrestler, just learning a little bit of jiu-jitsu grappling, but ADCC does not favor jiu-jitsu over wrestling by any means. The scoring system is probably one of my favorite.
This is like perfect for Pat Downey, actually.
Oh, for sure,
and
yeah.
So at this point, did he qualify?
Let's see. He had a win over Anthony Malaguti from Henzo Gracie, Aidan, which is also unaffiliated, and then he lost to Ramos. So he picked up 2 wins.
Does it say that he made it to the 16?
Does not
top
mention
16?
that, no.
Oh.
No, because he lost in the quarter, so possibly he could have qualified, which would make things really interesting for sure.
Crazy.
All right, so let's we're gonna go over just some talk about competitor type stuff, and then we're gonna dive back into the trials a little bit and just talk a little bit of kind of honorable mention matches along the way that you should definitely check out. It doesn't need to be a finals or semifinals match to listen to it or to watch it, and for it to be amazing. There's definitely been some matches along the way that you should check out. But while we're on the subject of competition, let's talk about things that you need to do as a competitor / expectations that your coach should have or probably has for you if you want to be a serious competitor. Now, before we get into this, I want to talk about the difference between I hate the word hobbyist, honestly, because I think that there's people who have their lives seriously dedicated to jiu-jitsu, and it's more than just a hobby. I feel like there's more categories than just hobbyist and competitor. But for lack of a better term, we're gonna talk about competitors, and we'll call a competitor somebody who competes at least once every other month.
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, 7 times a year. Not the person that wants to compete once a year, just to go out and test themselves. If you consider yourself a competitor in the gym, what should you expect of yourself, and what should your coach expect of you? So first off, for me, my number one is find a coach that you trust and buy in 100%.
That's a good point. Yeah. No, if you don't have faith and trust in what they're preaching to you and what they're telling you to do, then come match time, come game time, you're gonna need someone giving you reminders in your ear. You're gonna need someone, like, there's it gets cloudy on the competition mats, and you're gonna need someone whispering in your ear, reminding you of habits you need to have and everything, and get you out of some serious situations. And if you don't trust what your coach is saying, chances are you're not going to listen to him.
Right. And if you don't trust what your coach is saying, then quite frankly, you should find another coach.
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay to know the why sometimes behind the move, but a lot of times, and I'm not also saying that you should have blind faith in your leader, but you should pick one that you can have blind faith and say, okay, he knows best. The competitor's track record thus far proves it, and then you just have to buy in. You can't, and if you don't, then you got to find a different place to train, or you've got to reassess the situation and go from there. Because, like you said, on the mats, you've got to be able to implement exactly what your coach is telling you and trust it 100%. There can't be any doubt or hesitation at all. So what's the first one you have on your list?
I have don't skip any practices.
100%.
So, I think like, doesn't matter if you're sick or injured or whatever it is, maybe not COVID, but you can still be there. You may not have to do the practice if you are, say, injured, but you should just be there at all times, watching, listening, and being in there.
I agree. I think, and that honestly goes for competitors and hobbyists. If you're injured, there's still a lot that can be gained from attending class. You can learn by watching the technique that's being taught. You can learn by watching certain people roll. There's a lot to be learned. When your body is broken down, your mind still is can effectively learn, you know.
You don't necessarily need to be hands-on in order to learn jiu-jitsu. You can watch techniques you can watch your teammates roll and analyze what their habits are, and you can identify maybe some problems that you get into on the mats and see how they get out of it, you know.
Right.
Sometimes you got to look outside in. You can't always be in the middle of everything.
No, and I honestly think that in small spurts, it's good to watch class and try to learn that way. I think that when you're too close to it sometimes, you know, if you're right in the middle of rolling all the time, you tend to get in the same habits or routines with the same people, the same role, nothing changes. You've got to force yourself to look at things differently sometimes. I have a fair amount of experience with injury, unfortunately, and I found anytime that I've taken a break because of an injury and I'm still on the mats teaching and things like that, when I can finally train again, a lot of times you end up in completely different routines than what you're used to. It kind of resets you. So yeah, I would agree. You, as a competitor, you know, you've got a cold, you've got other stuff coming up. You just have to be at class. It's a must for sure.
Absolutely.
So that number 2 for you leads right into number 2 for me, which is sacrifice. If you want to be a full-time competitor or you want to be able to train at a high level, there will be some sacrifice. There's no way around it. Sacrifice when you're at training instead of out with your friends, when you're at training instead of with your family. If you're trying to maintain peak physical condition, there's sacrifice with your diet. Just a whole number of things.
You have to train like you're a professional athlete. If like that's what you're going for. Just because jiu-jitsu is small and quote unquote amateur doesn't mean you shouldn't be training like a professional athlete. You should train with a seriousness, and you should have a serious lifestyle with diet and exercise and anything outside of training.
And honestly, that's why I say too to people, like, not everyone needs to compete. Not everyone's a competitor, and not everyone is cut out to compete. And I don't think any more highly of someone who competes versus someone who doesn't. I think you can take jiu-jitsu very, very seriously and not be a competitor. It's not a requirement, you know, to compete at all. All right, so what's number 2 for you?
My second is doing extracurricular activity, whether it's exercise, whether it's like strength and conditioning or studying specific jiu-jitsu techniques, studying matches, studying your own matches, implementing it into your daily training. Just thinking about jiu-jitsu outside of jiu-jitsu is I feel like it's really good for your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. No, I would agree with all of that. I think study in general is really good. I also think that if you have the ability to study your own matches, that's huge. You know, if you're of the level where your matches are being recorded on, you know, Flow Grappling or some sort of invitational, you know, that makes it easy to study them. But even if you're competing locally at a Grappling Industries or something like that, just make sure one of your friends or family is always recording all your matches, because win or lose, there can be a lot of benefit from that, for sure.
You always want to be identifying your weaknesses and immediately working on them in the gym as soon as you find them out. I feel like that's one of the best ways you can improve.
That's a good point too, because you're not watching your matches to be a highlight reel. Like you're really only concerned with the bad parts of your matches. Yeah, if you did something right, you know, you can observe that and say, okay, that was good. I'm going to utilize that again. But for the most part, you're analyzing your matches so that you can fix mistakes. I think that's think that's huge.
It's like proofreading your paper.
Yep, exactly. So next one for me, and a couple of these kind of blur together, but things you must do as a competitor is be honest with yourself. So what I mean by that is be honest with yourself, especially when it's not something that your coach can measure. Okay, so your strength and conditioning coach can measure how much effort you're putting in by watching. Be honest with yourself with your diet, your effort when you're training. Be honest with yourself with your injuries, both in can I push through this injury or am I using this injury as an excuse to sit out tonight?
Mm-hmm.
But in general, you've got to be honest with your success and your failures. You can't use it as a cop-out for any reason.
Yeah, you really have to know when you're not putting in 100% effort or not. And 100% effort doesn't necessarily mean going as hard as you possibly can. It just means fully putting in your entire, putting everything else aside and completely focusing on the goal at hand and being able to push.
Just be smart with your training too. When I've gone down to Tom's in the past and seen his competitors go, one thing that was interesting to me, it wasn't like a slow hour-long grind of live sparring. It was 3, 4, 5 minute bursts of everything you have, go for it. Okay, now you're going to take a break for a minute or two. Everything you have again, mimicking more like a competition setting where you've got to be able to go with everything you've got, and your pace and your effort are
and
huge.
Fight through exhaustion.
Right. Yep. I witnessed that too in Costa Rica recently with one of Tom's competitors, who I believe was a white belt at the time, but he got his blue belt right after the trip. Bert, that kid has no quit. He was going against one of the guys there from Serbia, and they were training, and Tom was coaching Bert and pushing him. And I don't know, for those of you who don't know a lot about Hero Academy or have been there, it's basically a small steel building with a metal, siding on the outside. No framework structure. So you're talking about, steel beams and then the tin of the outside.
So a furnace.
Basically, yeah. With a slider,
pizza oven.
with a slider on both ends. I thought for sure that they were going out through the side of the building at one point.
That's where you were going with that.
And they didn't even stop. Like, they hit the light switch on the wall and were what appeared to be going out through the side of the wall. And I was expecting to hear Tom say, "Okay, guys, hold on, reset in the center." And it was like, "Nope, keep going." And they probably went for what seemed like 15 minutes, but at a frantic pace. And it is hot there and hard to train. And it was definitely impressive for sure. But that's part of being a competitor. That's what it takes.
You can mentally break someone by pushing past what their limits are, what their perceived limits are, being able to fight past that and just show that you can just keep going.
Absolutely.
That's a fantastic tool.
Yep. Well, that's kind of what I saw with that match with Esteban. He's ahead 3-0. He could kind of rest for those last 20 or 30 seconds, but he had already pushed the pace to such a limit that the other person was exhausted, and he didn't let up on, he didn't let off the gas pedal. 3 more cartwheel passes at the end just to keep things.
Yeah, he's one of the most demoralizing competitors I've ever seen.
I can't imagine.
We were at ECI 2, and he puts on such a pace. You can put him in any danger that you want, and he will escape it and immediately take your back in 0.2 seconds. And there's no time to breathe when you're fighting him, it seems.
Yeah. And there's people that do that very, very well, and I feel like that's something in certain areas. Now they need to continue to expand that, but Haley and Meg do that in a lot of areas. Meg does it with relentless attacks, especially if she's on the back, and then sliding up to arm locks and reverse triangles and things like that, and side triangle. And then Haley uses it from guard passing and then attacking from top. But that's when they really become problematic to deal with, when they get in their routine and the attacks are coming so fast that you can't keep up. I think that's now Esteban does that from everywhere nonstop for 6 minutes, and they're just starting to chain that together in some areas. But I think that's definitely the start of it for sure.
Being able to escape a maybe not fully locked in submission, but being able to escape a submission and immediately go into, say, their back like Esteban does very well, or immediately go into leg attacks or arm attacks, like that will crush your opponent. Yeah. For them to get to a submission threat, a submission position, for them to have a dominant position on you, which technically being in a submission is a dominant position, for them to get out of that and immediately be reattacking you with no break is just, that can be really demoralizing.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. All right, so what do you got for number 3?
I think you should be tactically proficient. Like, it's one thing to go sub only, to have a sub only mindset, but if you're truly trying to win, you should know your rule set.
Absolutely.
You should know that if you're in IBJJF, you should be playing the points game when it is absolutely necessary, because at the end of the day, you can't take a loss. Like, you're still out there to try to win.
I agree. And I've heard Tom preach that multiple times too, is to know the rule set, especially when you're fighting multiple different types of promotions where they're slightly different. Yeah, you've got to be strategic. And I talk to our competitors a lot about that, about strategy, and it's paid off numerous times in the past. But the most recent, it's just a slight, and the strategy sometimes may be just subtly different. Meg has been in a routine lately where, and usually she can overcome it, but where she is working hard for the takedown to fight from top, and she either gets countered and ends up in guard, but she's fighting from guard down 2-0. Now, a lot of times what happens for her is the people she's fighting are physically bigger, because she's fighting up to 135 a lot of times. And 15 pounds that's about 12 or 13% more weight compared to the 120 that she's at. Mm-hmm. So just a slight tweak in the strategy is to set up a guard pull. You're playing from guard where you like to play, but now the score's even as opposed to being down. Mm-hmm. If the score's even, you can attack constantly and not worry about the points as much. If you're down 2-0, especially in the latter part of the match, they start stalling. They become really unwilling to engage, and it makes submissions more difficult, but it also makes sweeps very difficult when they know they can just ride out a win, especially if the ref's not paying attention to stalling and things like that. All right, so next one for me, similar to the last, but different. It's really a question for you to ask yourself as a competitor, and that's, what are your goals, and do your efforts match your goals? So what are your goals, and do your efforts match your goals? If you just want to compete to test yourself versus I want to be on a super fight, or I want to be in ADCC someday, what do you want? Make sure your coach is fully aware of what you're trying to do, and then make sure that your effort matches what you're trying to do. Because a lot of people can say, oh, I want to do X, Y, Z, but then their effort tails off, or it's not there. A lot of people want to be on the podium and have their hand raised, but that's not where the work gets put in. The work gets put in and day out on the mats at your home gym.
People don't realize just how difficult it is to be a world champion, be a national champion even.
Right.
Like, the amount of sacrifice you need to have, the amount of work you need to put in, it's almost unbelievable. And you need to be fully aware and full willing to push yourself there. And if you're not willing to, then maybe you need a wake-up call. Maybe you need to kind of change your path a little bit.
But again, not everybody is cut out to compete, nor should they.
Yeah.
Not everybody has time to be a competitor either, and if that's the case, that's totally fine. But if you look at Tom's school at Ocean County, every time he posts a picture of their competitors in a comp class, which is almost every day, you see the same faces there every time. There's never a time when you do not see Jaden, Cameron, Calvin, all these people with high aspirations. They're always there. No excuse. That's really the difference, I think. And that's why as purple belts, you're seeing Cameron and Jaden have so much success.
Yeah.
Just because they're training.
They're training while their opponents are sleeping.
Yep.
While they're taking breaks.
Yep. And the opposite is true too. If you're taking a day off, and you don't think that your opponent is working his butt off, you're fooling yourself. That you should be able to know that the other person, there's no way that other person outworked you. You know what I mean? That's
absolutely.
All right. So what do you got? What do you got for number 4?
Choose the right training partners. I believe that you should be picking people with similar goals. You should be training with people with similar goals as you. And even if they don't have similar goals, they should have similar, let's say, athletic ability or gas tank or skill level as you. You shouldn't be going out there and you shouldn't be taking on people that are of significantly less skill level or effort, or people that don't really have any dreams or aspirations of competing.
Yep. One of the Tom DeBlas commandments of jiu-jitsu on the wall is save your toughest training for those with similar goals. And it's very true. If you are a competitor, you have some size as well, it does you no good to go super hard and beat up a smaller non-competitor.
At the very least, stay within your weight class.
Right.
At the very least.
Yep. I think to a certain extent, too, I think it's important that you train with people in your weight class, even more so than people of your belt level. Because they can at least match you physically, which you need to get used to. If you have 40 pounds on someone, but they're the same belt as you, you're still going to be able to manhandle them, and you're going to be able to do things that you would not be able to do to someone who had your same amount of size, strength, and stamina.
There is a place as a competitor for you to be rolling with people that are of significantly less skill level than you, and that's for polishing your tools.
Yep.
That's for working your new stuff.
Right.
But as long as you keep it within your same weight class, your same size, you need to be able to get good reactions regardless of what skill level it is, but they need to be of a similar body type to you or similar size to you.
Right. Well, I mean, it's as simple as this. Let's break it down to something super, super basic. If you train with somebody who is constantly 30, 40 pounds less, okay, and every time you take their back, you put on a body triangle, but your legs aren't long enough to body triangle somebody in your weight class, you've just trained something for however many months that you are not going to be able to do when it comes time to compete. It's something that, something of that.
Yeah, you got to be able to build habits against people that you will be competing against, like
Right.
people of that same size, or else those habits will completely shit the bed come competition time.
Right. Yeah, maybe you can rip somebody out of turtle and take their back if they're smaller than you, but a guy who's a similar size, it's not going to happen. There's just small different areas like that where it's critical that you're, in most gyms that you go to, you're going to find somebody that you have a training partner that challenges you, pushes you to the limit, and it's going to make you both better, the whole way through. All right, so last one for me. It's a short list. We could go on for a long time on it, but last one that I like to see is super simple, and that's no quit in you at all. That comes from no quit in your strength and conditioning, no quit in your when things are going good, when things are going bad, you're in a crappy position in a competition. I just don't want to see you physically break. Like, I want you to be, even if you're down 10-0 and the clock's ticking away, I want you fighting for every inch until the timer's up.
Can't be complacent. There's no room for complacency in a competitive mindset in a competitive world.
Yep. All right. So what's the last one you got to finish things out?
It was actually similar to your first one. Mine is have faith in your coach and listen/follow their directions. You have to have faith in what they're telling you. You have to believe in what they're telling you. You got to be able to follow their directions because they can see things clearly than you can sometimes, or most of the time, because you're in the middle of a roll and they're not.
Exactly. Third person point of view is huge too in coaching, because sometimes it's you mentally, but other times it's just something that you can't see from where you're at. Meg knows this, but sometimes she gets tunnel vision on a submission and she's going after something so intentionally that the other person knows it. It makes it easier to defend, just some tunnel vision, and you need to know when to switch things in another direction. A coach from the sideline can see that when you don't see it. That's one thing. But then another thing is if you just can't physically see a limb or something coming from,
it could be literal. Like you could literally, could not see something.
Right.
You could have sweat in your eye, blood in your eye.
Exactly.
Their feet are in a weird position that you can't tell.
Yep.
You may not be touching them there.
And that's honestly just a short list. We could go for hours just talking about little things that make competitors better. But I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about your recent trip to New York, where you got to train, who you got to train with, what you might have picked up. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some local competitions that we've done just recently. So fill me in on what you did, who you went with, where you went, stuff like that.
So I went on a little jiu-jitsu getaway with our purple belt, Eric Galvez. We were in New York and New Jersey for the entire trip. The goal was for him to meet up with clients, but due to it being in New York and New Jersey, you could also have some fun in there. So he decided to bring me along. We did a lot of food. We got to see a lot of New York. But the biggest takeaway was the training. Like 200 feet from our apartment was Renzo Gracie Upper West Side, which is probably the nicest Renzo Gracie school that exists. It is pristinely clean. It is all fresh and white, and it's pretty big too. It's bigger than our school. Maybe not as I'd say ours is nicer, but they they have a nice like clean white. There's like they have a shower, like they have multiple showers, and they have tons of lockers, so tons of storage. It's smaller, but they have a lot of storage, and they have a larger ability to get people in the bathroom, get people doing what they need to do to freshen up. But yeah, it was really, really nice.
That's probably the biggest area that we have trouble with is the fact that we only have one bathroom can be problematic. But I'm super happy with the rest of the facility, but we certainly could use a second bathroom. Would be amazing.
Yeah, I've seen a few schools now, and from what I've seen, we have the nicest so far. It's pretty sweet. So the class is set up super similarly to ours. They do like different hip movements from bottom across the mat, like snakies, whatever. They actually do kind of like a mini exercise. They run around the mat, and they do like high knees, butt kicks, sideways movements, just to get the lungs opened up.
Yep.
But they're very fast paced. They have a 1 hour time frame, so they're going through stretching super quick, which kind of seems like not super effective, but hey, it's cool. We get everything done super efficiently. But yeah, stretching super quick. All the movements are super quick. You don't have a ton of time for that, so you get straight into technique. And that's
something that Tom is big on is 45-minute classes, start to finish. Which you went down there actually and witnessed that. Yeah. He's a huge proponent of that.
But it means that you only get, say, 3 rolls within that class. So that's something that you have to consider. And the same applied when we went to New Jersey. We went to Hensel Gracie Denville, and they have the same setup going. But technique is, we were doing a fundamentals gi class, so it was very fundamental. But I feel like it was incredibly useful technique. It wasn't some like random submission from a random position. It was something that fundamentally you need. Like it was kind of a lumberjack variation from when they stand up in your closed guard. Mm-hmm. You kind of hook sweep underneath the ankle and knock them over, and it was excellent. And then he showed how to like easily transition into side control and mount from that sweep, and it was really good. And they did after technique, you do 1 round of positional drilling or positional sparring, whichever the position was of the day. So because we did technique, we did a closed guard that first day. We did 1 round of closed guard as the first live round we did. And then after that, there's only like 3 rounds of regular live sparring, and it's only 5 minutes. So I did notice that because we get a full hour of live sparring, and we get 6 minutes. My cardio was significantly better. I just noticed how my cardio, maybe not in this room, it's not very good, but comparing it to people who only do 3 rounds a day,
right,
it definitely shines. But being in a fundamentals class, getting to roll with these guys, it was really nice. They have really good fundamentals, especially in the gi. They are very solid from opening the closed guard. They're very solid from the closed guard. It was sweet. So we did that 2 days in a row, and it was both gi. It was sweet, both fundamentals. And then later in the week, we did Denville, New Jersey, Hensel Gracie, which isn't quite as nice as Upper West Side, but it is so rich with character in that all these people are just super hardworking, down and dirty individuals, and they all have very similar mindsets, it seems. And they may go 1,000% against you, but they're not trying to break you at the end of the day.
Yep.
They're there to help. They're there to help their training partners to succeed, which was really sweet. And like I said, it's a similar class setup with the warm-ups and everything, but the intensity was like through the roof. It was awesome. It was crazy.
Nice.
And it wasn't a fundamentals class, so I don't know what a fundamentals class is like at Denville. But
So what did they? What sort of stuff did they teach?
in Denville, it was a move from a lasso guard, where they kind of bait you in to. He wants you to pressure in on the lasso, so that you can drive your knee. Like, it's kind of a circular motion.
Yep.
They drive forward, you take them off to the side and off balance them, and then you finish with your knees pushing through them, and you knock them over backwards. And it was a really cool lasso guard sequence that I haven't seen before.
Nice.
It was sweet. But it was very quick. They go through techniques super quick at both facilities. And there's really they don't really care, it seems, what you're doing as long as you're on the mats rolling. It doesn't matter if you're drilling technique. It doesn't matter if you're going 1,000 miles per hour. And it doesn't matter if you're flow rolling. As long as you're on the mat and doing every single round, it's fine by them, which is, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Nice. All right. And you went with Eric, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Eric had this strange idea that we wanted to see everything that you ate. Where's the best place to eat in New York?
Well, this is going to be between Katz's Deli and Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I haven't explored all of New York City, so I don't really know what truly the best is. But if you want the absolute best New York meat, you either get Katz's Deli, you get a pastrami on rye with some mustard, or you go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and you get a wet-aged steak, 30-day wet-aged steak with whatever side you want.
Nice.
And you will be eating like a king, regardless.
Nice. All right. I'm going to finish up. We've just passed the hour mark, so I just want to finish up with a little bit of our own competition recap to finish off this competition podcast. So here's the plan for the next podcast. We're going to talk about, we didn't intentionally overlook the two women's divisions, the under 60 kilograms and the over 60 kilograms. Those are going on today. Middle of next week, we'll be releasing another podcast with a couple of female guests talking about the women's division. So before you string us up for not talking about the women's division, we did not intentionally leave that off. We will be discussing that as well, but we wanted the female perspective on that. Before I bring Haley and Meg on, I was just scrolling down through the grappling industry's rankings. Meg put on a great performance last
13 matches in one day?
12 or 13 matches, yeah.
That's crazy.
I think she was 9-3. I'm pretty sure.
And were all those wins by decision or what were they?
Subs.
All subs.
Over. All subs. 9 submissions, 9 wins. What you may not know is that the overall grappling industry's rankings for teen gi female 16 and 17-year-olds, Meg Gleisner is number 2 in the world.
Are you serious?
And
What?
Haley is number 4 in the world.
What?
Now, that being said, it's a little bit, their points are a little bit divisive because they are constantly put into different divisions. Haley wasn't in this most recent grappling industries, but out with injury. But between the past ones that she's won, they have multiple different divisions. So female gi adult blue, female no gi adult intermediate, But then some of their wins are showing as, instead of adult, are showing as 16 and 17-year-old gi. So the ranking is a little bit skewed. It's hard to know.
They don't even have the full picture.
They probably don't have the full amount of points that they should have to be.
But does a submission count as points?
Win counts as points. So
Okay.
in looking at Haley's competition in smooth comp in the past, looks like year. I don't think this is overall. I think it's just in the last year. Is 25 wins, 12 by submission, 12 by points, 1 by decision. So 50% submission rate, not too bad. And then Meg, 27 wins, 19 by submission, 1 by decision, 5 by points, 2 by walkover. Both excellent performances. Yeah, so in looking at Meg's recent submission, yeah, they're all submissions.
What is the position? I mean, the percentage submission rate.
Submission rate would be 71%.
Damn.
Just under 71%, so not bad.
Not bad at all.
And I will say we, as a school, we are submission oriented. That's the goal, and we do a fair amount of sub only with the way we train and like the good fight competitions and things like that. But when it comes to points, we can be strategic where we need to. You know what I mean?
These ladies are racking up major points as well as getting the submission. Let's not get it twisted.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. They're like, some of these matches, they're tech falling the girl and submitting them at the same time. So
yeah, as I was just pulling up Haley's list here, I'm looking at Meg's right now, but one of Haley's was 23-0, and then ended in submission. So that's and that's where she gets her nickname Godzilla, by the way. All right, guys, we are almost up on an hour and 10 minutes here, so we're gonna end it here. Like I said, next episode, I am hoping to have Haley and Meg on here. We're gonna talk about the most recent women's side of the bracket for the East Coast ADCC Trials, and we'll see you again soon.
Peace.
Remember, you don't need to move fast. You simply need to move forward. Life presents all of us different obstacles. It's easy to give up. However, get up, smile, and put one foot in front of the other. Everything works out. I promise you. Tom DeBlas.